Oli, oli, oli. Welcome back to another episode of Fruta Fresca with José Richard Avilés. El chile pa' tu fruta. Ya la gente lo dice con nosotras. Ya la gente ya lo dice con nosotras. El chile pa' tu fruta. Listen, I am super excited for this next guest. It's going to be a really fun conversation. Ya empezó, amigas. This podcast should have started like 20 minutes ago. We were like, fuck. But okay, yeah, hit record, que estábamos muy bueno. My guest is... real, community-driven, community-inspired, a poet, a literary artist, a cultural worker, an event producer, all in the name of community and in pupusas. Now, y'all know that every time one of the things I always do, I feel like I've said this before, that I am half pupusa, I'm a putaco, half pupusa, half taco, pero siempre puta, se sabe. And today is puro pupusa, puro pupuseo. I get to be next to one of my favorite Salvadorians, someone who reps El Salvador, el pulgarcito de América, as hard as my next guest, Cyn Gonzalez, does. Cyn, how are you?
Ay, puchica, ya me quiero empezar a reír. Nos hemos estado riendo de
sí, qué fuerte. The whole time.
Puchica, vos nunca vamos a empezar con las conversaciones
jamás. No.
Real, because es pura bayuncada.
Pura bayuncada, literalmente pura bayuncada. I am so excited that I get to have you here. We've been talking a little bit about... No, pues hay que contar a la gente. We were just talking about that one of the big things. Like, a mí se sabe aquí también en el podcast that I've been using a lot more Mexican slang. Se me ha salido lo chilango, se sabe. Pero también una creación salvadoreña. And you know that comes out to me anytime I get scared o me pego o una bayuncada pasa en mi vida, es siempre jueputa. There's something about the jue. We were talking about the jue.
Y es que le ponemos el sazón.
Claro.
It's like, the sazón o el acento is
100%. There's nothing like a mí que me digan como que mira, como que todo, sí lo entiendo, pero there's nothing like the mira, vení pa' casi pote jueputa.
Porque si no, ya vas a verlo como te va.
Sí,
es que ya vas a ver. Or that whole thing when they say, well, I don't know si tu mamá te había dicho esto, pero cuando te dicen, mira, es que cuando lleguemos a la casa, Cintia, porque mira, todo el santo día te he traído en jabón. And I'm like, ¿el Tide?
Not el Tide, bitch.
Not el Tide. El isote, no
el sote, bitch.
I'm like, Tide was a little too expensive, you know.
Nos bañábamos y lavábamos con el pinche soap, con el sote. Nos bañábamos y lavamos la ropa con el mismo, se sabe. No, it's so true. And I think about it now that I'm older, because interestingly enough, I feel like I've adopted so much of like more of my Mexican side because that's my mom. Mm-hmm. And my Salvadorian side is a reflection of my father's. Mm-hmm. And it's about the relationship that I have. You know what I mean? That's why that poem that I wrote, Torogos, is like there's certain things I've never visited the country. I don't know if I will. The only relationship I have to the country is my father's family that I've never been close to. So, sorry. Es que yo tengo la maña, güey. Ando que ya me regañaron otra vez, amiga. Se sabe, perdón, disculpa.
Porque te están regañando.
Damn, es que ves, daddy issues. Me ponen en mi lugar y me pongo, ay, no, qué fuerte.
Pero te encanta.
Me encanta. Ay, sí. But I grew up in that culture, and there's nothing like the vení, the sentate, el cincho. That to be able to code switch in two languages is fun, and one language has been fun.
You know, it's so true because when I talk to other people, and specifically like my partner, she's Mexican.
Right,
we were just talking about that, right? So my partner is Mexican, and then so when we first started dating. She said que se puso allá Google, like, I mean, like Googling words, you know, because she wanted, which I think is super cute. Like, if you're super interested in somebody, puchica, vas a hacer todo lo que puedas so you can, like, let me understand this person more. And she's probably going to hate me after she hears this because she's gonna be like, you put me on blast. I don't give a shit. But here's the thing. It's like, talking about that acento and everything.
Yeah.
I remember just in several conversations, she would be like, I had to Google, like, all kinds of stuff. And then I started dating you. Like, we're going out and I'm learning more. And then, like, just you, like, why is it that y'all talk with this passion? Como que si andan like, I don't know what it is. She's like, we don't talk like that. Like, we're calm. And I'm like, well, no ni tanto. I'm like, y'all Mexicans are crazy too. But, the whole thing is like, well, there's crazy and then estás like, de remate, estás loco.
Claro.
And that's what I guess Salvadorians are.
And I just remember mi tías, like, I just bien, honor to mi tía Claribel. Little
La niña Claribel, no jodas.
Sí, we're just talking about,
Talk
no
about
son
niñas,
doñas, no son señoras,
doñas.
son niñas. La niña Claribel, aquí allá abajo, vive allá abajo.
Del cerro.
For real. No, pero mi tía, no jodas. Hey, my dad is Jose Maria, and she would always be like, Chema, no jodas, Chema, no jodas. Oh, I missed her. She passed away a couple years ago. Oh. But I feel like I inherited so much of, she loved me so unconditionally. And I think that's why a lot of that, oh.
And then honoring our tías, though, because I feel like, now we're tías, right? We're tías or tías, right? It's beautiful to be a tía because now that I'm a fucking tía, I'm like, damn, I remember when I was my niece's age, my oldest niece, she's 23. Pucha, I said 20 años, but damn, I'm outing myself. But then it's like, I also have little ones that are like 6, 7, and I see these little fools like they're mine. Yeah. And tías play a motherly role in our lives. They help guide us porque, puchica, when we are afraid to talk to our parents. And then, I have a personal story with one of my tías, my tía Marina, who's in Inglewood. She lives in Inglewood. And I remember like coming out. I came out to her as an adult first when I was 19. And my tía embraced me. And she was just like, I'm here. Y puchica, todas los desmadres que hacía and all the novias, my tía knows all about them. All about them. Because I would take, damn, I'm just calling myself a hoe. This was in the 20s, just outing myself. No, but it's like, you're dating. We're queer. We're trying to like figure ourselves out. But at the same time, it's like we're enjoying esa fruta fresca que está allá afuera. I had to shut it out.
I love it. Qué fuerte.
Las flores and everything. So it's like, I remember just going out and my tía siempre me decía like, puchica, Cynthia, ¿y cuándo vas a sentar cabeza? Mira, esa muchacha está bien bonita, bien calmada. And I'm like, yeah, pero es que está bien bonita la otra también. So again, coming back, bringing it around to like tías.
100.
They are, I think they are, and we are, right? A sanctuary place to them.
Yeah.
Or they have been, because now, also my niece, who's 22, 23, like she's queer now. And guess what? Before she even went to my brother, like she came to me first. And that's super powerful and super beautiful, So it's like, I just had to talk about tías because I can connect to when you're, and I saw you right now. You went somewhere. I don't know where you went, but you went somewhere. You're like, my tía, like in paz descansa. So.
I remember her a lot. Yeah. That's so funny. Ay, amigas, empezamos así fuerte en el
Sorry,
intro.
We're all emotional now.
But right now, I didn't even get to the first question. This is like the warm-up. So, wait, I have to ask you the question. And we ask this question to everybody who comes onto the podcast. And it's, if you were to be a fruit, what fruit would you be and why?
Oh. Damn, that's a first.
Oh, yeah.
What fruit would I be? What's the first thing that came to mind, though? The first thing, ya me regañaron a mí también. Puchica, aquí nomás de regañando. Mira, acércate más si no te voy a dar un pencazo. Puchica, but this mic is so big.
I know. And you know what they always tell me, bitch, back up? Es que yo me lo quiero tragar.
Right, and I'm like, that's a little too big. I'm too close to this. I'm like, trigger. I'm kidding.
Qué fuerte.
Going back to the frutas, I love bananas, los guineos. I love them so much. Bueno, son plátanos, guineos. I love them. However, I'm thinking one of my favorite fruits, aside from the bananas, son los mango verdes. I think that whether they're sweet or especialmente los mango verdes, it's like they have this crisp, they have this freshness, but they're also sour as hell. They're bitter.
They're
You know,
bitter.
and not that I'm saying that I'm bitter, but you know, it's you got to have a thick skin, and I feel like
That
mango
part.
verdes, they have a little bit of everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they can be mixed with different things, like le echas el limón, le echas el alguaste, le echas,
Mm-hmm.
you know, la salecita para que le dé un diferente sabor and everything, and it's a good combination with other fruits también that you can pair it up. I mean, specifically in Central America, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what I would compare myself to. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if anything, it's just this. Um, that was yeah. That question threw me off. But I think if anything, I like to see myself as a person that's fresh with ideas. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what I think about it, because when you have mangos verdes or mangos tiernos, it's that freshness,
Yeah.
and but then it's also that bitterness, but it's not sweet, but it's distinctive from
Mm-hmm.
any other
It's an
mango that's
acquired
there.
taste.
It is. Well, there you go. There you go. I'll take it. I'll take.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah,
a
acquired
Capricorn,
taste.
baby, so you know.
Okay, that's why, because I'm a Capricorn.
That's right. That's
What
what you
sign is
are.
your boo?
She's a Libra. She keeps me balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she thinks that I'm a little too much, but it's all right. I'm like, well, that's why you're a Libra, baby. You balance me out.
I love it. You know, I talked about this in the last episode, but it's funny. Virgo energy is interesting. There's a couple Virgos por ahí andan. Unos voladitos.
Uno
That's a word. That's a
volado.
word. Un
Un
voladito.
voladito.
That's a word.
Aquel volado que está allá. That's what
No,
we're talking
there's
about.
even in like the Mexican slang,
El
there's
Brian.
it's
No, just kidding, el volado
el
aquel.
volado.
Just kidding.
Pero cuando tienes así un voladito, ¿no?
Un
Un voladito
voladito.
por
Yeah,
ahí,
yeah.
¿sabes? And my, you know, even like when I talk to more of my friends in community who speak Mexican Spanish or non-Salvadorians,
Mhm.
no entienden lo que es un voladito.
Un
And I'm
voladito.
like,
You're like, it's just a little thingy. It's just a little
un
something.
voladito.
It's just
Pues sí.
ahí.
Hay unos, a couple of Virgos, and it's interesting. So they're fun. I am a little mad at you because
What?
my first question, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper because we started talking about it. And I was like, I love how organic the conversation is. Like, you just knew what I wanted to ask. But the first thing I wanted a little bit more, it's like coming out. You told me you came out to your tía. ¿Cómo se llama tu tía?
My tía Marina.
Ay, tía Marina. You know what's so funny? That's
Mhm.
my sister's name. And
Marina?
there's not too many Marinas. We were talking about
No.
that yesterday.
I think that's a name that's it's like what is that? It's like my grandmother's name was from my maternal grandmother, Elvira.
Mm,
Those are names like
those
know,
are
with like
names.
power
Yeah.
and stuff, you know? And then I think Marina is also another name like that. It's like
Mm.
it's a Renaissance name, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Sí,
talking
sí,
about,
sí,
right?
sí.
You know, but it's like an ancestral, like it reminds me when you say Elvira or you know, Marina, like those are names that automatically
Mhm.
connect you to the motherland. It's not a name that you're
100%.
gonna hear about it here.
No. You know, interestingly enough, my sister's named after my grandmother,
Mira.
Marina. And so, and she's the only one. I've only ever
Mhm.
known one Marina, my sister. And I have another friend, really good friend, Marina Mangalians, who was on the podcast también.
Mhm.
And I love her because my sister, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, and I have a very much sisterhood relationship with her too. And that's it. Y ahora tu tía.
And my tia.
And that I love the fact that it's the tía that you came out to.
Yeah, that she was the
Like,
first adult.
Yeah. How was that conversation? ¿Cómo fue? ¿Y cuándo fue si no te
Oh
molesta
my
platicar?
God. I mean, I was 19. So and I didn't come out because I wanted to come out. So I was kind of like thrown into the whole thing of like somebody else told my story and told my mom. But before that, it was a conversation that I had with my cousin Ronnie, who's in Sacramento, who I consider my brother. Somos primos hermanos. And then so mi tía Marina is his mom. And then his dad is my mom's brother. So, and we grew up together since we were little, since we were freaking like little. You know, we grew up together. My mom would babysit him because my tía Marina was, you know, working. She's a housekeeper. And then so my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So we grew up with this like, you know, cultura, sharing and everything. And then so as we grew older, it's like I would go over to his place and we would stay there, spend the weekends together. Andábamos ahí en las bicicletas, andábamos y todo eso. So my tía Marina, she has 2 boys, and her and my tío Chepe, I was another day, Chepe, they always wanted a girl. So they never had a girl. They had 2 boys. And so they saw me as the daughter that they never had.
Okay.
And so Coming out, I came out to my cousin Ronnie first. And I remember I was what, freaking 18? And then, yeah, I was like 18, 19. And then I told him, and he was just like, oh, shit. I still remember we were in his room talking about it. And he's like, well, I love you. Doesn't matter what, like we're here for you. My parents are going to love you and everything. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm scared. I don't want to tell my parents yet. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if you should tell your mom because especially your mom, it's going to like throw her off, especially with religion and everything. And I was like, fuck, I'm not going to say anything. So in my tia Marina, it came down to like talking to them and looking for literally again going to like a sanctuary place, somewhere where I could feel safe and talk about these things. And then at the same time, it's like also ask for guidance. It's like, what the hell do I do when it comes to like love or whatever,
Right.
or anything. So I remember just like telling her and telling my tío, and then my tío cried. My tío was just like a mess because again, he was like, my daughter, and then he's like, I don't give a shit, but I love you. I love you, And my tía Marina, she was just like, mira, mija, pero ten cuidado, no le vayas a decir a tu mamá todavía porque ya sabes cómo es tu mamá. Yo estoy aquí para vos. Cuando quieres hablar conmigo, ya sabes, esta es tu casa. Si quieres traer una muchacha. And that to me, I was just like, damn, like,
Right.
I could bring joteria here, like.
Of course, you're like, that's where your mind went, bitch.
That's where I'm going, So it became my home. I already knew it was my home, but just hearing it from my tia and saying, this is your home. And you can bring your friends. You can bring who you are. You don't have to hide. You don't have to hide whoever it is that you're dating or whatever. You can bring her here. Hearing those words at 19 years old, that is fucking powerful.
Yeah.
That is like, I'm feeling seen. I am being heard. I'm being respected. I'm being invited to be myself here in your home, right? And y de ahí se armó. Like, it was just like, my cousin, you're dating, vamos al Palms. You remember Palms? Did you ever go to Palms?
I did.
Man, going to Palms, going to the suites, going to like WeHo, going to Long Beach. And then it's, of course, meeting the girls.
Not I don't know why I went there, but you said Palms. What came to my mind también, bitch?
The arena.
No, I mean the arena.
The arena.
Ay, no, qué fuerte. I feel like I ran into you once at Circus.
I'm sure.
I'm
sure.
Yeah, I think that might have been some of the first times we met cuando estaba Circus. Qué fuerte. No, but what came to mind, you said Palms. I went to the Florence Gardens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Was it Florence or Florentine Gardens?
Florentine Gardens.
Florentine Gardens.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Y no se hable también de Silver Fox, bitch. The Phil for Silver Fox.
Ya estamos viejitas, las tías.
Sí, mira.
And
I love that. Shout out to the tías again, man.
Shout out to the tías.
I think
Shout out to the tías
so much.
Sure.
Like you said, I went somewhere and I just remembered mi tía Claribel so much.
Yeah.
And now I have a relationship with my cousin, her son. Because we grew up together, but we weren't that connected. Everything texteamos and it's love. And he's always like, yeah, my mom loved you. My mom loves you. Everything that you were. And it's true. Now that I'm older, I'm like, the things I remember of mi tía, she loved me. And I'm grateful for that because in some, again, the safety, the haven, and now to be those tías. And I love that beautiful moment because I hung out with my nephew yesterday. I asked my sister to take me to Target. I need to go to Target, but it was just like, we talked about it. She was like, you need to go. I was like, look, girl, I know you want to get out the house for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm down. I can go pick up some stuff. You know what I mean? Whatever. They bring my mom and it'll be us and, my nephew. And I got to hang out with him and it's great.
How old is he?
He's going to be 4 now.
Okay.
He's going to be 4 in August. He's a little Leo. And then, you know what the weird thing is? The weird thing is that we talk a lot about, dude, he's my grandfather.
Is that good or bad? I don't know. You're not telling me. I'm like,
sorry. It was a lot.
I'm like, okay, he's
your
a Leo.
Face, your face. No.
And then you're like, but
no, but my grandfather passed away. Oh, around this time in July. Okay. My grandfather passed away in July 5 years ago, and so he never got to meet my sister, his great grandchild, my nephew, and my sister had really loved him. And my grandfather, I was told too in a little situation, that case, the baby, my nephew was going to be the manifestation of an ancestor that was coming back to make amends.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that always just stuck with me. And when I met my nephew, when I went to he was a NICU baby, so I went to the hospital.
Mhm.
I met my nephew. I literally told my sister, "That's my grandfather." Like the same fucking little cabecita, the
Shut
same
up.
hair, like similar tone, like skin color.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he's growing up, I've heard that my grandfather had a very was very toxic, machista in
Mm-hmm.
his
Mm-hmm.
when he was younger. Pero de viejito se puso bien sweet, like he was repenting shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he just reminds me as in this little energy that he has now a lot of my grandfather. And all of my sister was telling me yesterday that a lot of my uncles, my grandfather's children, they love Jacob so much because they all say it's my grandfather. My dad always says that he's grateful that he got his dad back through his grandchild.
That's
It's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got there, but I was just hanging with them.
We were
Sorry,
at Target,
we were at
girl.
Target. Estamos en el Target.
Hanging out with
you
the
can-
baby Leo.
ese fue el chismecito que ahí que you can take that out. Nomás aquí entre nos. Pero I wanted to ask you, again, and I said this earlier, the beautiful things that I love to do with you in the relationship, it's a lot of the cultural work that you do, and the want to not the want, the need and the mission to also include Central American discourse, particularly Salvadoran, because that's our background, in queer spaces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not only in Latino spaces and Latinx spaces, como quieran decirles, porque se sabe, ay no, cancelada.
I know, yeah.
Qué fuerte. No es cierto. Amigas, ustedes saben que es el churrito de cada episodio, se sabe, amigas. And that's been really fun. So for me, I think es que ser salvadoreño tiene un gozo. The things that I remember the most, I feel like in the same way that people mourned for the loss of Prince. I didn't listen to Prince like that, but I can, I know some Prince music and can mourn him. I feel like I mourned Aniceto Molina when he passed away. And he's Colombian, right? But Aniceto Molina is such an icon and Salvadoran cumbia and groove. And that's all I grew up listening to. You know what I mean? Para ti, how does El Salvador taste, smell? Tell me a little bit about what in the juxtaposition of everything that we are, right? In the Mexican, because there's a lot of Mexicanismo in also the context of Latinidad, right? Like the taco was getting gentrified, la concha, right? You still gotta explain that quesadilla is a pastry, not a tortilla with queso, but like there's still things like that. Not a lot of people know what ensalada is, but that's the best drink. That's my drink.
Échale un poquito de rum y ya se armó.
For real. O que la gente todavía no sabe que es maracuyá, like shit like that. Nonsense. You know what I mean?
Para esos que no saben, es passion fruit.
Pero es maracuyá. Los nances. Las anonas. I mean, all the things.
Anonas. Oh, my God. I had those for the first time when I went to El Salvador. Really? We used to go, like, every summer break. Sí. Yeah, cuando estaba bichita. And then they were like, oh, tráigame una nona. And I'm like, what are anonas?
Riguas.
And then they were like, riguas. I'm not a big fan of riguas.
I love riguas.
Y es puro elote.
Sí, es puro elote.
Basically. But it's just a little bit different. Pero a mí me gusta comer el atol de elote. Oh my God, I'm hungry now.
Uno, todo el mundo agachadito. Dos, agarrando la paleta. Y tres, moviendo el atol de elote.
He's so silly. No, yo quiero tamales ahora.
Yeah, that's a little video called Being Salvi is like, uno, todo el mundo agachadito.
That is a thing.
That's content. That's content.
That is a thing right there. We should
I
do
love
that.
it. Ay, no, qué fuerte. What else? Sorry. El Salvador,
Pucha,
¿qué
que
más?
nunca voy a responder a la pregunta.
No, pero me encanta ese formato.
Préstame el teléfono, cipote. Oh my God, I didn't know. That is a thing. If you didn't know, we do that. El acento.
Qué fuerte.
Pero, to answer your question, it's like, what does it feel, you said, to be Salvadorian? Or what is it
Sí. Pues even like the things that you're stating, what does it feel like? Because it's so hard, I think, to put, define it. It's so different for a lot of us también.
Well, I mean, I think this is something that I can share that has, I believe, talked about in the past, especially now, because you're talking about the taco was being gentrified and then the concha was being gentrified. Well, we can say the same thing about pupusas right now. It's like, ahorita somos el what is it? We're trending right now. Salvadorians are trending right now. And and it's a thing,
no,
right?
100%.
It's a thing. And to me, it's like, growing up, we were never trending. And the only reason why we were trending was because las maras y la guerra civil. That's how we were trending, right? Back in the 80s.
Sí.
And then so to go from that extreme to this extreme, it's like, wow, But let's not forget, I mean, I celebrate every moment and all the goals, all the accomplishments that we're doing as a community. But there's so much more to learn, so much more for us to unlearn and learn. We have a lot of that
100%.
going on. And then so what I think about is just my journey from being that little girl that was always so proud to be salvadoreña, even though every time que iba para El Salvador me decían, ahí viene esta gringa, ahí viene la gabacha, que ella es la americana.
Sí.
Vos no sos de aquí, vos sos de allá. And I was like, but when I'm over there, I'm being told that I'm not from here.
100%.
And then 100% of the time, I think a lot of Latinos, Latinx, or Hispanics, for those folks that say, we can understand that, right? No van a cancelar, mira. Pero no, it's true. It's like if we are hyphenated American, Latino, Latinx, whatever, we're going to feel que no somos ni de allá ni de aquí, right? And it's like, what does it feel like to us? Well, to me, what it feels like, it's like, I have the best of both worlds. I'm Salvadoreña de nacimiento, right? But I'm also Americana because this is where I grew up. This is where I was raised. So when I say like American, I'm a proud American. I'm a proud like fucking South LA, baby, all the way, right? It's like being raised in the hood. I'm a hood kid. And I say that so proudly, so boldly, like, when people ask me, when I go travel and I'm at work, they're like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, from LA. And they're like, oh, what part of LA? I'm like, from LA, like South Central LA. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, South LA. I'm South Central. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it real.
South Central.
It's South Central. And
all the way.
It was gentrified and not with the name like, oh, it's South Los Angeles. Well, let's just, it's like, it's East Los, right? It's Boyle Heights. It's, so it's like, I embrace every part of my identity. And in that identity of being Salvadorian and being American, I'm also a queer woman of color. Pelo colocho, let's add that. That's my acento,
Con colochos.
Con colochos, right?
Yeah.
Para los que no saben que son colochos, son rizos, son chinos, right?
Colochos.
But it's...
I'm grateful for mine.
It's like that gives it that sazon in our identity
Colochita.
as well, right? So it's like, I embrace every moment because in all these challenges that I had as a kid, it always gave me an opportunity to teach other kids about who we were. I don't know what it was. I think it was my parents' story, the chiquita que me dijeron, we left El Salvador because of this war. And then, my dad was an organizer. He had a semester left to become an engineer. And he couldn't even get his degree. He couldn't even, because of the war. They were killing all his friends and everything. And then so his brothers, my tíos, asked him to come, right? Lo mandaron a pedir. And then left my mom pregnant. I'm the baby. And then a year later, like, we came. So she carried me with 10 months old as a baby into this country. And then so to grow up with the stories, like, from my grandmother, from my dad, from my tíos, and I remember seeing my dad cry, like, no me pude graduar, no pude tener mi título, no pude ser ingeniero. Si El Salvador estuviera en diferente posición, tuviéramos diferente vida allá en El Salvador, yo los hubiera podido. And it was like seeing a grown man cry. And so to me, I think that's what filled my little heart with pride. And so when I would hear, right, our siblings, our Mexican siblings, right, like, oh, what's a pupusa? Or like, why do you say like cipote? Like, you don't say that, and we don't eat here. And comete unos tacos. Like, dude, well, pupusas is my taco, right? That's my platillo. That's my dish. So it's like, it's crazy because and then we would deal with it's the 80s in South Central LA, right? So you're dealing also with that black and brown hate towards one another. And it's like, to me, I was just like, what? Why the fuck are they calling me Mexican? Like, because we also had black kids who didn't know anything, right? There's so much going on, so much trauma in our communities, our black and brown communities. And they were also triggered for whatever reason and things that they were dealing with politically, right? Of course. And so I remember kids throwing rocks at us, newspapers, and saying, "You fucking Mexicans, go back to your country." And then I remember asking my mom, I'm 8 years old, I'm 10 years old. And I remember asking my mom, ¿por qué no dicen Mexicans? Like she said, ¿por qué no saben? Y aquí los salvadoreños todavía no se sabe de esa cultura y todo lo que se escucha es la guerra. Pero ustedes sigan siendo orgullosos porque nuestra cultura es bonita, la comida, la música, like every day in my house there was some cumbia playing. And on the weekends ya ni se diga porque estábamos ahí limpiando and doing some stuff, right?
Sí. You know what came to my mind cuando dijiste, salvadoreñas, qué lindas son, que me han robado el corazón.
So it's like, it's that question, I don't even know if I'm answering it, but
I think it's beautiful.
It's a little bit of everything, and I celebrate my identity, my growth, and where I'm at now.
Right.
And I think it just goes back to my parents' story and wanting to also make them proud.
Right.
Knowing that I didn't forget about the cultura because that was their fear. It's like our kids are going to grow up and forget about the culture. And here I am, like 43-year-old woman saying, no, I haven't forgotten. If anything, it gives me even more courage.
So I feel like that was the perfect way to answer the mission statement of Salvies Who Lunch.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Tell us a little bit about Salvies Who Lunch para las que no sepan. Pero yo sé que todos los que escuchan saben, güey, porque ahí andamos también. Right.
En el chambre.
Literally, chambros.
Salvies Who Lunch, it came out of a freaking hashtag over lunch, literally, con unas hipotas that I met online. And then Carla Vasquez, the founder of Salvies Soul, she was one of those women. And I remember we just met each other. I don't even know how it all started, but it started. And then so we just like DM'd one another. And it was like, oh, hey, vos sos hipota. Well, let's meet up. This is back in 2018, right? It seems like forever ago, but it's not that forever ago. It's just a few years back. It's 5 years ago. And then so, vos sabés que cuando la gente está comiendo, the first thing that we all do is grab our phones, like, put it on the gram. And then so I took a picture of it and I literally just hashtagged it like Salvies Who Lunch, just like comida. And then from there, it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. And then I go to work and my team at the office were like, hey, like one of the founders was like, hey, I saw that you were hanging out with some Salvies sisters. Like, what was that about? And blah, blah. And then because I walk around the office or anywhere at the office or anywhere else being so proud, so bold about me being me, right? Unapologetically being queer, but also Salvi. And her thing was, we always hear you talk about being Salvadorian and yo les llevaba ahí comida, like this is pupusas, this is this is that. And so her thing was like, you're connecting with your people. And then I was like, yeah, I met some girls online and we decided to like meet up and have lunch. And she's like, how did that feel? And I was like, it was beautiful. Like, we cried, we laughed, we talked about our abuelitas, we talked about our tías. We felt so happy that we could say bayuncadas and no one was like, what is that? What is bayuncadas? What's chambre? Like, our dialect was embraced so beautifully in that moment. And it was a moment that I encapsulated, and it's a beautiful memory. So le estaba diciendo todo esto y me dice, who came up with the hashtag Salvies Who Lunch? And I was like, me. It was just a hashtag, to use on the pictures. And she's like, you should do something with that. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that. And she said, well, you're always talking about being so proud, about being Salvadorian. And here you are educating us about your culture. Maybe you should use this as a way to educate others. And then from there, I was just like, well, maybe that's something I can do. And I remember having a conversation with her and the rest of the team who are all Mexican at the office. They were like, yeah, I should do this porque I like 100,000 Mexican accounts, but you don't see these accounts for Salvadorians. And then so I started doing a little bit of research and looking. And I was like, damn, there's only like 2-3 pages on Salvadorians and it's about traveling. And then there's like the other pages are just pura bayuncadas. Like it's just memes. And then I kept looking. I went on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And then it was just like there's nothing that's educational. Like, there's no network. And if there is a network, then it's only in academia, right? You have your very like small circles where it's UCLA or USC or, CSUN, and they have those small little pockets of Central American studies and, so forth, but nothing out in the public. So I was just like, maybe I should. So I me puse with thinking, I want this platform to be a platform that educates, that embraces, that is home to many people that haven't seen themselves represented. And we're going to educate on history, on some of the colors, whatever it is. Hasta me puse ahí a buscar si habían dinosaurios. Well, I didn't find any dinosaurs in El Salvador, but I did find like prehistoric mammals. And I did. And it was so cool. Because I was just like researching, doing all this, like as extra work, like I didn't have a job, right? So salía del trabajo and I would like go and just Google, like, has there ever been dinosaurs in El Salvador? And I was like, no, but there were prehistoric mammals and these are the 5 mammals. And I'm like, what? So I would make, using Canva, shout out to Canva, using all these little like apps and then creating like a little post and saying like, learn more about these prehistoric animals in El Salvador. And people were like, what? And then I would just share little things like that. ¿Cuáles son los 14 departamentos del Salvador? And then people were just like, tut, tut. And it just started growing and word of mouth and everything. And people were just like, what is this whole Salvies Who Lunch thing? And then somebody was like, there should be like an event or like a meetup or something. And then I'm like, damn, I have like 10, 15 years of experience of producing events, from like being on Long Beach Pride to being on other nonprofits. And I'm like, I can do this. So I me puse. I had a meeting with the past that director at the LA LGBT Center, which I had helped with some programming as well. And I was like, I want to do this event where I can bring 2 underrepresented communities together in one home, in one space. And specifically, I want SWL to be queer inclusive because I am queer, for starters. And so he was just like, okay. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to bring art. I want to bring live performances. I want to just bring people so they can come and network and like-minded folks, And he was like, okay, well, you have the space. So the center sponsored the first year, and that's how Chévere came to be. And it was one of the most beautiful things to just see. And then several queer Salvies came out, and then they were like in tears and saying, I've never felt so safe. And the reason why is because we've all gone to, and this is not shit talking, this is just factual information. It's like we go to these festivals, whether it's El Día del Salvadoreño or whatever else, these other Salvadorian festivals, right? And then it's like, because I've been to them, and it's like, I remember going, and it's like you're looked at differently because we look different, because we are queer, or we're holding hands with our partners. And then I didn't see that one as educational. I didn't see it as inclusive. And I'm like, SWO is going to be different. We are going to be completely different and do things that people have never seen before. And we're going to bring community into this. And we're going to look for those talents that are Salvadorian American, that are queer, that are whatever it is. And we're going to highlight them. So that is going to be the mission. We're going to educate. We're going to empower. We're going to highlight. And this is going to be a network, right? But at the same time, it's going to be just an organization that just gives and gives and receives positivity. And guess what? Has there been challenging times? Yes, there is challenging times, of course. We, especially being queer organization, it's like I posted the queer flag with el escudo del Salvador, and there's so much hate that came from that, like the DMs, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, y'all do know that even in the Salvadoran community, we're so small, and there's so many sub-communities within our own Salvadoran community, right? And there's like so much to learn, so much to talk about, but it's like people are scared, right? whether it's like Salvi trauma that I like to call, the Civil War trauma, but it's also we're tapping into a new momentum right now. And it's like politically, there's a lot going on as well. And so one of the things that I've learned over the past 5 years, which I've had great collaborations with other nonprofits and the talent and artists like yourself, it's like y'all all bring your own flair, your own energy, your own art. And then people, something that they say all the time is like, I didn't know about them. All I see is like when I go to other events, it's just like what's already out there. It's being shared and reshared and reshared. And then here you are providing something fresh, something unique. It's like, I didn't know that Soy Nalgona is an activist and community organizer. And, you know, people don't know that. People just see lo que ya han visto en el pasado. And it's like, no, let's give people something new, something fresh, you know? So there's a lot that we're doing with SWO. It's still, when people think, oh, Salvies Who Lunch is like, puta, van a ver como 20. And it's like, no, like, it's just myself running, right? But I am blessed to have a team of volunteers that help on the day of. And community is so beautiful. Yeah. You know, we're nothing without volunteers. We're nothing without community. So,
y nos la pasamos bien.
Y se la pasan
Nos las pasamos bien. I mean, I think I'm grateful. I love the fact that ya nos dieron la de 15 minutos, güey, no mames.
Es que hablas demasiado.
No, es que está bueno el chisme. También tú, I mean, that's beautiful. And the way we talked about Tia Marina was great.
Oh, Tia Marina, I love her.
But I'm grateful for Salvies Who Lunch. And again, like I talked about earlier, the relationship I have, all the things. Pero to be able to remind myself and be like, nah, bitch, también así creciste, güey. Creciste.
Yeah.
Guanaque, dices tú.
Yeah. Guanaque.
I love the fact that people don't know that our empanadas are different.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, güey, es plátano y boleada.
Yeah.
you know, like, those son pastelitos.
Yeah.
And then we got empanadas too.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. Okay, so I know because I want to get to some of the things that are coming up.
Yeah.
You talked about Chévere. Pupusa Fest just happened.
Yeah.
We also a performance aquí su servidora LA Pride Village. We had a little Salvies Who Lunch to the sides. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
What's Chévere? When is it? ¿Cuándo va a pasar? ¿Qué es?
So Chévere is the event that started everything. That that's a second baby. So it's like Salvies Who Lunch is my first baby, and then within that, Chévere happened, and that's literally the foundation that started all these events. So Chévere is focused on art. Last year I added film programming, live performances. We have the vendors, and it's just a space where people can just come and just mingle. It's more relaxed. You know, the Pupusa Fest, it's like in its own event, right? Just like Joteria, it's in its own element. So Chévere, it's more chill, it's more relaxed, it's more for the artistas and the filmmakers and everything. So that is happening August 19th at the LA LGBT Center. And one of the reasons why I have it there, and I've been having it since I started, is because it has the gallery, it has the theater, and it's just a beautiful safe space. And I always look for safe spaces when I do the events because we're queer, right? And I'm always thinking about safety first, all the time. So it's going to be held at the center. We're going to have some film programming. I'm really, really excited about one performer, but I cannot share yet. But it's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be amazing.
Qué fuerte.
So that's happening August 19th. The couple of other things that we have that we're working on is also I announced the Bichitos Club and the Bichitas Club.
I saw that.
Which that is a new program under SWL, and that's going to be focused on teaching kids about art, music, and culture. And we look forward to bringing artists, community, and having this program with working with the city, working with schools and everything. So that's what we're literally working on right now. And we're going to have a launch event, hopefully this time in around October. We're talking about it as well. And then I'm going to DC for work, but at the same time, we're going to do a little mixer, get some community to come out in DC, los cipotes allá in DC.
love it.
I did something back in 2019 with El Tamarindo restaurant. And we had like 80, 90 folks that came out. Venían de Virginia, and to me, it's like, they call it the DMV, right? They're all connected. But to them, it was like, we've never had anything like this before.
There's a huge Salvies community out there.
It's huge. It goes from LA and DC. It's like, who's number one, who's number two? We just don't know. It's so close, right? So those are the things that are coming up. The most recent event, it's going to be chévere.
Ya oyeron, chiquillas. Cipotes, cipotías. Ay, los cipotes. Ay, no. Cerote, que tengan cerote. Ay, no. It brings me home. Ya oyeron, August 19th at the LGBT Center. Tell people where you work, because that's good. We need to come back for part 2.
Okay, so what I do, what pays the bills, and this is what I tell people all the time. I always love to be transparent, because I feel like it's very important to share that even though I founded SWL, which is a nonprofit, it's a 501c3, and all the work that we do, it's all for community based. I do not get any coins from that. Everything goes back into event planning, goes back to talent, goes back to venue rentals and everything. My day job is operations manager for Lil Libros, which is one of the leading bilingual publishers in the country. And when I say leading, is because nobody else is doing the work that we've been doing for the past. We're going to turn 10 next year, and it's a beautiful, it's been a beautiful journey with Lil Libros. I always love to brag, just a little brag. I was their first employee back in 2016 that they hired. So Patty Rodriguez and Ariana Stein are the co-founders. They've co-authored about like 40 titles, the Lil Libros, and their story is very beautiful because they were looking for bilingual books for their own kids back in 2012, 2013, and they couldn't find any. So Patty wrote a manuscript, submitted it to the big publishers, and the big publishers came back and said, we're not interested. There's no market for this. Latinos don't read to their kids. Yes, that was told. And then so Patty and Ariana, they're junior high besties, and they partnered up, zero experience of publishing, and they launched Lil Libros. And they didn't know what the hell they were doing, because they told me this. I know the whole story in and out because I'm always talking about it. But they were like, we had zero idea of what the hell to do. Like, how do you order books? Where do you order books? How do you do? Like nothing. And when I came on board, it was 2016. It was just them two doing everything. And la familia, los tíos, los primos, los hermanos, everybody was helping pack books from their own homes. And then they get an office, which is in Huntington Park. And then they were interviewing for the right hand. And so here comes Cynthia. You have no idea where they found me or where I found their post.
Where?
On Craigslist.
That's what?
Craigslist. Not LinkedIn.
Right.
Not Indeed.
Right.
No, it was Craigslist. I should tell you something. That's how old we are, right? Fucking Craigslist. So
personal.
So at the time, I had gone back to school. I was tired with fucking corporate, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna become a court interpreter. So that's what I was doing. I was taking my classes, almost done, and then I was like, damn, but I gotta pay bills, right? Because we got bills to pay. So before I'm done with school, I still gotta pay my car. I gotta pay all this stuff. So I went on Craigslist, do the pura chiripa. Now that's another word.
That's another word.
Folks
Chiripa.
will say chiripa.
Sí.
I go there, y de pura chiripa, I find this little post, and it says, like, looking for admin support or whatever. Very basic shit, right? And then I'm like, damn, okay, well, fuck it. I just want a part-time, because it was literally a part-time. Para que nomás me ayude con los biles. Mm-hmm. And then, so I applied. Y no decía nothing about publishing, nothing. There was no name. It was literally like, apply here. So then I applied. I get an email, and it says Lil Libros. And it was Ariana, the other founder. And then, so, no para hacerla tan larga, right? Porque si no, aquí el jefe va a decir, ya 2 minutos. So then I go in and I walk in, and this is where it's important to be a visionary, to see vision, right? Because when I walked into the office, puchica, nomás puras cajas habían everywhere. There was one little desk, and that little desk was Ariana's. And that's where she was the only person there. Todo lo demás era pura oscurana, just a warehouse, just boxes, and that was it. And I remember just sitting there, and I interviewed. We even cried. It was an hour interview, and we cried because Patty and Ariana were sharing their story about how they started Little Libros, their own personal stories of their parents, an immigrant story, right? And then I'm here sharing about being Salvadorian and my immigrant story and how I came here. So we were just like bonding. It was this whole thing. Y yo aquí tirando la casa por la ventana, like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do... Like, I see it, and I want to be part of your team, right? I still walked out, came back, and told them, I really want to be here. I want to help you grow. Like, I have experience I can do. And they were like, okay, we'll let you know. Puchica, it took them 2 weeks to like let me know I was hired. But it was crazy. So to see, at the time when I started, they had only published 6 books, and they're all focused on Latinx, Latino stories, Latino culture. And then now to fast forward, we have over 70 titles, and it's on different concepts.
It's about places, about people. And I feel like one of the cool things in some of the series that you have about historical figures, I get to learn. Because there's some historical figures that come up that I didn't know before, and shit like that. So I am so grateful to Little Libros, and to kind of end us up in this conversation. The big news is that you authored a book.
Yep.
Tell me about the book.
Let me tell you, I never in 1,000 years picture myself writing a kid's book. Had I thought about it, I published a poetry book, but I never thought it would be a book on the great artista del Salvador, Fernando Llort. And I say it, cuando lo digo, like I feel like a little flutter in my chest. And it's this pride because I feel like I go back to that little girl, little Cynthia in South Central. And I was being bullied because I was Salvadorian, because of my pupusas, because of my acento and everything. And to be now where I'm at, and I published a book on Fernando Llort that specifically talks about cultura, his art, his biography, that a lot of folks, even in El Salvador, they don't know about him. But we know that beautiful iconography, the art, the colors, and everything is being shared even more now. But people still don't give credit to the man that started this movimiento. And it was a man who loved community, like unconditional love. And he used Mayan indigenous art to teach farm workers, a los campesinos, para que supieran how to make a living with art. And that's what you see when you go to El Salvador. That's what you see when you go to Centroamérica. You see artesanía, you see la gente, los pueblitos allá haciendo, todo este arte, but it's because it's been passed down, from decade to decade, being inspired by Fernando Llort's art. So when I was asked, like, how would I feel and to do this, I was just like, yes, like for sure. But I wanted to do things right. And that's something that I love about Little Libros. They wanted to do it right. And they said, because I had developed a relationship with Maria Llort, who is la hija de Fernando Llort.
Wow.
And I jump on a Zoom call with her and I tell her the news. And I tell her, I would love to work with this. I would love to work on this with you because I would like to know more about your dad that I can't find on Google.
Right.
Google can't give me the details that you know. So I interviewed her and I spoke with the mom, I spoke with her and the entire family, toda la mara de Llort, they were super grateful and super excited. And so I'm honored to be a vessel for his mission, his legacy, that I get to go and talk to these bichitos, about who this man was. And one of the questions that I always ask all the kids, I'm like, who loves to art? Who loves to paint, And then kids are like, me, whatever. And then I tell them, well, here's the story on this man who loved art as much as you do, who loved to color outside the lines because his work was all colorful. And then so that's just amazing and beautiful, you know. So here's this book on a little bit about him that it's just bullet points, right? It's just a short story for the kids to learn about him, but also adults, como vos dijiste ahorita, like I get to learn, you know. And then let me tell you that while I was in Chicago this last week, I found out that it received an award, and it's a commended title, which it's being shared in academia and say, use this book in your classrooms.
Oh, wow.
So that's to me, you know what I mean? And to me, I didn't even know, like, what the hell do I do? What does this feel like? And I think I'm still processing. And it's just, I reached out to Maria Llort and I said, I just want you to know that thank you for trusting me with your dad's story. Thank you. And she was like, no, like, it's our honor, like, that you're doing this for us. Like, that's what my dad wanted. My dad wanted to touch the hearts of many, and he passed away about 4 years ago.
Wow.
So here I am, like, just being a tiny little, you know.
Qué bonito. When you're community driven. Ay, working people. Ay, qué bonito. I feel like we need a whole nother too. We should have Lil Libros come through y vengan las tres. Así.
Oh my God, it's gonna be a party.
Sí. Hacemos una mesita aquí. Can we do that?
No, let me talk to them.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll bring it over. Ay, qué rico.
Seguimos
así, platicando y chismeando. Where can people get the book?
You could get it on littlelibros.com.
Okay, pues. And where can people follow you and Lil Libro handles?
Little Libros handles is Lil, L-I-L _Libros. And then mine is Soy Cyn Gonzalez and Salvies Who Lunch. Salvies Who Lunch.
Qué rico. Yeah. Ay, this was such a fun episode. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you. This has been good.
De verdad.
It's like healing. Oh my God. Now I feel like calling my tia Marina when I'm driving back home.
Oh, you should.
Oh my God. I love her.
Oh, yeah, call her. Shout out to the Tías. I think that's the big episode of today was like Tías. Pues, o sea, chismeamos.
Yeah.
Puro chambre.
Yeah.
Esto fue puro chambre.
Sure
que aquí ya nos regañaron y todo.
Ya dijeron 2 minutes. Yeah.
For real. Bueno, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fruta Fresca with Jose Richard Aviles, El Chile pa' tu fruta. I love saying that. Ay, no, qué fuerte. Ay,
Thank you for having me.
Claro.
Thank you so much.
Oh.